Okay. Hello, good afternoon to all dear authors and invited guests. Welcome to the technical session 8C. On behalf of Global Knowledge Research Foundation, it is my great delight to you to welcome the 6th International Conference on Information and Communication Technology for Competitive Strategies in concurrent with 6th International Conference on Smart Trend in for Computing and Communication through Zoom. I appreciate to all our participants on this platform for supporting this conference digitally in these unpredictable circumstances of COVID-19 and making it more productive. We hope you will enjoy the days of the knowledgeable and interactive session. Also, just before we get started, I would like to introduce to our session chair, Professor Geeta Navle. Dr. Geeta Navle, working as a professor and head of the department computer engineering in Singhar Institute of Technology and Science, Pune, Maharashtra. She has a teaching experience 23 years. Her research domain include knowledge hiding. International general publication is 30 plus. Thank you, ma'am, for the being a session chair.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Also, there is a special note for all presenter. You will be given 8 minutes for the presentation and 2 minutes for question answer. And during the presentation, all other participants must be muted. And on 7 minutes, I will raise a gentle reminder to you. So we start our presentation and technical session 8C. So our start with first presenter. Desaglen Bichu again, and his paper title on elevation of voltage quality related issue, a case study of Bahir Dare textile shared distribution system. Yes, Desaglen Bichu.
Thank you very much. I'm Desalegn from Ethiopia.
Yes, please start your presentation, sir.
Okay. Is the screen shared?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
It is visible. Okay. Thank you for having me. I'm Desalegn from Ethiopia. My title is Elevation of Voltage Quality Related Issues. In the case of industrial case in Ethiopia, textile industry, I'm going to cover all these points. Actually, power quality has different convenient definitions. The utility company may define it as the supplying electric power to the consumers in a sinusoidal waveform and an appropriate current magnitude. And the manufacturer of load equipment maybe define the power quality as the withstanding ability of their gadgets or loads to the power quality issues. Whatever it is, the utility company has the responsibility to deliver a quality voltage to the consumer at the point of common coupling. And the consumers or the customers has to or have to install the power quality mitigating devices. Previously, the industries especially installing the DVR, the UPS, and other power quality mitigating devices. And nowadays in our country, we have a production loss due to these power quality issues. And from this, voltage quality related issues like voltage sag, voltage swell are the most common problems in the industry. Well, in my case, it's a textile industry. And due to the sudden and large tripping off and on of the loads in the industry that make us the voltage sag and swell, and due to the uneven distribution of single phase loads among the three phase supply, it may also affect the supply to the voltage imbalance. So there are effects in this power quality issues that I have investigated in the industry. There is a low speed of motors, heating of motors, decrease of the life of the motors and other sensitive equipment, especially the PLC or the controller. And there is a low production efficiency actually, and interruption of the operation in the industry. These are the major problems and effects that I have seen in the industry and during the assessment. For example, the voltage quality issues here that I am going to present is voltage sag and swell and voltage imbalance. Actually, the voltage swell is the increment of the voltage magnitude between 1.1 to 1.8 per unit for a duration of less than 1 minute actually. And the voltage sag is the decrement of the voltage magnitude for a duration of less than 1 minute from the magnitude of 0.1 to 0.9 per unit of the voltage profile actually. And there is a voltage imbalance or with distortion actually. This voltage imbalance is unequal magnitude of the voltage and actually the angle or unequal distribution of single phase loads among the three phase and with other distorting factors. So what my solution for this problem is the custom power devices, in my case, the custom power device is the UPQC, the Unified Power Quality Conditioner, which is consisting of a series active power filter and a shunt active power filter, which is responsible for the current related and voltage related power quality issues. What I am using is the series active power filter for this voltage related quality issues. And this is the proposed metrology. This is the control algorithm that I have used the PI controller and the fuzzy controller for the custom power device, the UPQC. And this is a series active power filter pulse generation in the Simulink. And this is a shunt. And this is a proposed the final diagram. I have this UPQC. This is the UPQC model. Then I have simulated the system with and without this UPQC to see the effect of the system. Then without the UPQC or the base case system has been simulated for some seconds for a dynamic simulation. And the base case, as you see in the load voltage waveform and the load current, and the other is the power. So as you see, the voltage is distorted and it's imbalanced, and the current as well. And the voltage sag has been simulated in the base case system. And as you see, this is above the 40% of sag here in the system. And the swell, the voltage swell is more than 140%. And the voltage imbalance is here. Actually, the magnitude is less and it's imbalanced with some distortion factors. So I'm going to elevate or mitigate this waveforms using the UPQC controller. So the voltage imbalance has been mitigated like this, it's 1 per unit and free of distortion actually. And the final waveform is this one. The grid voltage at the PCC is purely sinusoidal and kept 1 per unit, and the load voltage as well is 1 per unit and purely sinusoidal, and the current as well, which is the magnitude has been reduced and is purely sinusoidal. So as a conclusion, what I have seen in the result is the voltage sag and swell at the base case system was 40 for the sag and 140 respectively. But after the insertion of this fuzzy logic controller based UPQC, the Unified Power Quality Conditioner, or the mitigating device, has been mitigated to 100% this voltage swell and the voltage sag, and the voltage profile has been kept to 1 per unit, and it's free of distortion actually. Thank you for having me, and I would like to thank you all.
Hello. Am I audible?
Hello, ma'am. You are audible, but your volume is, I think, low.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
ma'am, please.
Okay. Okay. The Salgan.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell me what are the basic reasons because of which there is elevation in voltage levels in case of the distribution system which you are considering?
Okay. The reasons for this to undertake this research in the industry.
Pardon?
Why you undertake this research on that industry distribution system?
Which are the reasons due to which there is elevation in the voltage levels?
Okay. Okay, madam, thank you. Here in the industry, I have investigated the problems. There is, for example, there is an arc furnace in the industry. When the arc furnace or other driving motors are on and off, there is a voltage sag, and due to the faults and the circulating current, there is stoppage, continuous stoppage of large motors. And when they tripping on, there is a voltage sag, a minimum voltage level during that, and when they tripping off, there is a maximum voltage for a short duration. Then that affects the machines, especially the large motors and the PLCs. The data may be corrupted in the PLCs, the automation. I have seen that problems, and there is a voltage imbalance. When they install the machines, there is uneven distribution of single phase loads among the 3 phase. Due to that, there is an imbalance of the voltage when I measure using the digital multimeter, the voltmeter. Phase A may be 380, but the other phase to neutral may be 360 or below. This voltage imbalance causes the heating of motors and deteriorating the efficiency and the lifespan of the machines actually. I have seen those problems in the industry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lesaglin, for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So we are moving our next presenter, Remya Vishwa Vidyapitham, and her paper title on revamping an e-application for user experience, a case study of eSanjeevani OPD app. Hello, ma'am. Please start your presentation.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see the presentation? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible and I can see your presentation also.
A very good afternoon to one and all. My topic today is revamping an e-application for user experience, a case study of eSanjeevani OPD app. Myself, Remya Vivek Menon. I'm a faculty at Amrita School of Business, Amritapuri, Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, Kerala. This is a joint work with my thesis professor, Dr. Rajikumar Ji, who is a professor at Amrita School of Business, Kochi, Kerala. So today's agenda is will take you through introduction, what is the motivation and objectives of the study, what are the methods used, the results and the conclusion. UN Sustainable Development Goal 3, SDG 3 emphasizes the need for, one second. Yes. The need for everybody to live a healthy life and highlights the well-being of everyone on the planet. To ensure this, to ensure the well-being as specified in SDG 3, eliminating barriers to healthcare access and achieving health equity is an essential prerequisite. The integration of information and communication technologies into healthcare provides better governance of the healthcare systems in the country and helps to improve the overall quality and efficiency, reduce healthcare expenses, improve healthcare access to a wider population, and minimize health disparities. eSanjeevani OPD, the National Telemedicine Service to Citizens for Outpatient Health Services, was launched in November 2019 as part of National Digital Health Mission India. It is a doctor-to-patient telemedicine system to provide health advice and prescriptions through digital support without visiting the hospital. The eSanjeevani OPD platform has completed 120 lakh consultations as of September 2021 and now serves around 90,000 patients daily across the country. It offers immense support during the COVID-19 pandemic when the public could not physically visit hospitals due to travel restrictions. The motivation behind the study is, despite the popularity of eSanjeevani OPD, patients have criticism regarding the quality of user experience from the applications such as shortage of doctors, especially specialists, accessibility challenges, language limitations, long waiting lines, inadequate two-way communication possibilities, limited prior booking options, etc. These are to list a few. So in order to explore and understand user experiences while interacting with the web applications is useful for improving the total user experience. There are lack of existing studies about user perceptions and their experiences with telemedicine services offered under the eSanjeevani OPD app. Therefore, the key objectives of the studies are to understand user experience with eSanjeevani OPD using sequential incident technique, to identify certain design modifications and test their impact on user experience using the Taguchi approach of your robust design, and to generate key insights to help technologists identify significant issues in the web design and modify eSanjeevani OPD app for better user experience. So the sequential incident technique uses an exploratory qualitative interview of identified stakeholders to recollect and report critical incidents that cause pleasant or painful experiences during the service journey. You can see a visual representation of a customer path diagram. A modified version of SIT, a sequence-oriented problem identification, SOPI, captures only adverse incidents, is more useful when the objective is to identify areas in the need of intervention. The results of SIT are the participants seem to prefer the application and were unanimously satisfied with its concepts and how it helped them to get medical consultations during the COVID-19 period. For many modification ideas related to service coverage, onboarding procedure, prior appointment provisions, etc., experts viewed that the available alternative options have merits and demerits. This causes uncertainties about the ideal level concerning many important attributes concerning contributing to user experience. For example, like an expanded array of services is possible if service coverage is national, but language barriers in consultation can affect its effectiveness. An option to choose a doctor can increase user freedom, but can create waiting line management issues. Thus, there is a need to arrive at the relative importance of attributes and their most preferred levels that optimize user experience. Hence, we used a Taguchi experiment. A Taguchi experiment attempts to identify the best levels of design attributes that minimize quality variations due to noise factors which are uncontrollable associated with any product or service or production. In eSanjeevani OPD, noise emerges due to connectivity issues, heterogeneity in doctor counseling quality, patient characteristics, etc. Signal to noise ratio, which you can see as SN ratio, was obtained by conducting a Taguchi experiment. We have used a larger the better criterion since the performance objective was to maximize user experience as per the participants' perceptions in the experiment. We created an orthogonal array, a representative sample from the total possible combinations of all attributes and their levels for estimating metrics helpful to decide optimum design. The Taguchi experiment involved 6 factors in 2 levels and 4 factors in 3 levels, which gave 5,184 combinations. An orthogonal array is a subset of all these combinations and is used to choose the best combination. Design of experiments tab of the tool Minitab version 17 includes the Taguchi experiments, and we use create Taguchi design option for generating the orthogonal array. L36OA with 36 combinations for the experiment is considered. The responsible variable for each run was calculated based on the importance ranking given by the selected evaluators to attributes and levels where n is equal to 12. The results of the Taguchi experiments you can see in the table were identified as the relative importance of the factors and the most preferred level. The delta measure representing the difference between the highest and the lowest average performance score of a factor indicates its importance in creating the user experience. The higher the delta value indicates the greater the importance of the factor. The ANOVA table in the Taguchi output helps to determine the statistical significance of the effects of the factors and response. The error percentage was only 14.5, which is less than the permissible limit of 15%, confirming the role of all factors in user experience. The optimal combination was not available in the chosen option of 36 runs. So the optimal option offering maximum user experience is identified from the last column of table 3. We have validated the experiments by predicting the SN ratio of the optimal combination using the predict Taguchi results options on Minitab. The results showed an SN ratio of 42.16 is much higher than the ratio than any of the 36 runs to confirm the experiment's validity. To conclude, e-governance initiatives will be successful only if the applications created for such purposes develop enriching user experience. The study observed that the eSanjeevani OPD app has multiple areas of concerns affecting user experience in every stage of the user journey. We found that technological challenges, doctor quality and service quality of doctors using the consultation are the major noises affecting user experience. So based on the study's finding, we suggest a 5-dimensional approach of improving user experience and thereby improving e-governance in healthcare, which are technology innovation, service quality of medical professionals, IT infrastructure, ethics, policy support, and policy support. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Nice presentation and nice app is developed by you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to ask which tools you have used to develop this app.
Actually, ma'am, we have not used any tools to develop this app. We have just used the government's eSanjeevani OPD app, and we just analyzed the customer feedback. That's it. We just looked at the available feedback on the the possible feedback which is there from some users. That is why n is written as like n is equal to 12. We just collected user experience from eSanjeevani OPD app, which you can see. It's a government app which was launched by the government on November 2019 as part of National Digital Health Mission India.
Okay.
We just collect. Pardon me, madam. Hello.
How did you taste this?
Ma'am, it was actually based on this like expert feedback, convenient sampling, expert feedback from selected users based on like how they use the app.
Okay, thank you sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ramya.
Thank you.
Okay. We are forward to our next presenter, Pawan Kuraiya, and his paper title on intelligent virtual research environment for natural language processing. Yes, Pawan, please start your presentation. Hello, Pawan, just press your mute button to unmute yourself.
I think he has issue with his mic.
Okay, Pawan, we are moving next our presenter. Till then, you can check your mic. So, Nikita P, her paper title
Yes, ma'am.
Sys-
System
system
design and
design and
implementation of assistive device for hearing impaired people.
please start your presentation.
So, first of all, a very good afternoon, everyone. So, my name is Nikita Patil, and I'm working as an assistant professor in the Kelly Technological University, Hubli. And today I'm here to present a paper on, or to give a presentation on my paper, that is system design and implementation of the assistive device for hearing impaired people. So my paper ID is 409, and the authors, so it's me. Then along with me, my co-authors are Shraddha, Venkatesh Mani, Shashidhar, Vishal, and Nalini C. Iyer. So the contents what I would like to go through in the today's presentation are as follows. So first, let me speak about the introduction, literature survey, the design methodology, its implementation details, the results and the discussions, conclusion, and then comes the references. So as we all know that the communication is one of the process for exchanging of the thoughts as well as the messages in some various ways, such as it can be in the form of speech, or it can be in the form of signals, or it can be in the form of behavior, and then comes the visuals. As usual, we know that the paper heading itself said that this device has been designed for the hearing impaired people. And as usual, we know that one of the five senses which are necessary for the human survival is hearing. So the language acquisition, the learning to speak, as well as the general knowledge all require the use of the hearing sense. And the hearing above all allows the people to communicate as well as the socialize with others. But since hearing loss here is treated differently depending on the severity of the conditions, so the only disability that the dumb and deaf people have is the communication related, and they cannot use the spoken languages. Hence, the only way for them to communicate is through the sign language. And we can say that the sign language is almost one of the oldest and the most natural form of the language which is available for them to communicate. But since most people does not know the sign language, so finding interpreters for the different group of the people is very difficult. Or we can say that to treat the deaf people as one amongst the society, as a purpose of that, we have designed an user-friendly assistive device, which is very much necessary for them. So as a result of this, I can say that the dumb and deaf people make use of their hands to express the different gestures in order to express their ideas with the other people. So as a motto of this project or this paper, what I'm trying to present over here, it provides the details of the implementation of the standalone interpreter using the transfer learning for the finger spelling based, that is what we call it as American Sign Language, using the Raspberry Pi. As well as, let me go through the next slide. We know that the gestures are the non-verbally exchanged messages, and usually these gestures are understood with the help of the visual. So this non-verbal communication of the dumb and deaf people, we define it as the sign language. Yes. Now let me move through the literature survey part. So when I went through the literature survey part for designing this assistive device, we almost referred a few papers and have gone through like the gaps. What are the gaps that we have identified in these papers? What we have gone through. So one of the paper we studied about the hearing aid for the deaf and hard of the hearing. So here an assistive gadget for the hearing impaired people was proposed, which allowed them to communicate freely with anyone who comes who comes close to them. So it was basically designed in this manner, and here the disabled person must wear a wristwatch style device and carry on with the help of the Android phone. So suppose if someone wants to hear something from them, they all have to do is that open the application on their phone and go through his or her watch. So this is the survey what was carried out in one of the paper. Then we went for the another paper, and the title was Tools and Techniques of Assistive Technology for Hearing Impaired People. So here again there were various tools and strategies which were based on some parameters like the alarm systems, the speech augmentation, then comes your SL recognition and the learning apps as such. So finally, in the third paper, it was related to wireless assistive sensor networks for the deaf. So here they had developed a wireless sensor network based assistive system to assist the deaf or hearing impaired in being more aware of their surroundings. So by going through all these papers, with the help of the literature survey, what we had carried out, we got to know that the basic steps in the usually hand gesture recognition are we first acquire the data, what we call it as data acquisition. Then the next step here is data pre-processing, feature extraction. Then comes our gesture classification. So these are the steps what we go through usually in the hand gesture recognition. Then further we moved on for doing out the survey in this manner. So these are the results what we have got through the survey what we carried out. Then finally we thought like to design a system which consists of, usually the sign language is a visual language, which will be consisting of the three major components in it. So the first one you call it as a finger spelling. So this method is also known as the manual alphabet, which will be in almost the manual form of the communication itself. So the next one would be the word level sign vocabulary. So here it involves the collection of some large amount of the data set, and we carry out the experimentation with the multiple methods just to identify the signs depending upon the words, and then performs the evaluation based on it. So this method is usually applicable to some large scale scenarios. So the third one is we say something it has non-manual features. So here it is a combination of some eye gaze, position, then the movement of the upper head and the lower head. So these are the usually three major components what we have in the sign language. Then slowly we try to move out what is about this American sign language about. So it is usually a predominant sign language. Since the only disability that the dumb and deaf have is the communication related, and they cannot use spoken languages, as I said. So hence the only way for them to communicate is through, I can say it as sign language, what I just now stated. Yes, recognize the fingers spelling based hand gestures in order to complete a word by combining the each gesture. So this was about the survey part, what we have done. Then finally comes my design methodology. So by, looking out the survey or what I had through the graphs and all, first I tried to jot down the functional requirements, what are required for designing my system, that is assistive device for the hearing impaired people. So here we need to design a model which should be able to detect the hand properly, and it should then capture the image of the hand gesture. Then the captured image should be compared with the database what I will be having for any of the match. Suppose if it is not found, then it will display an error message. Suppose if the match is found, then it should display the suitable message which is needed for us. So through these functional requirements, we try to frame out the functional block diagram for the proposed system. So it consisted of these blocks. So as we could see in my slide, so these are the functional blocks what I have over here. So I can see that the functions are expressed as a set of the elementary blocks connecting the inputs and outputs. So from what block I should get as output, and to what block it should be connected as an input. So here the role of web camera is generally used to, yes, almost to recognize the gestures. And they are further applied to the pre-processing block for converting the images to some standard sizes. So here the system is basically developed in such a way that it converts the gestures into some respective text. So further the images will be stored in the form of the database, into the database. Then the system uses some appropriate database to convert this image to the text file. Thus, it can be concluded from this, the system provides the output data in the form of the text almost, which in turn helps to reduce the communication gap that takes place between the dumb and deaf people. So this was a brief description about our functional block diagram, what we have designed for the proposed work. Then here we do have a flow chart. To understand, like this is the way what we have tried to work out as per our functional requirements. So the overall design flow of the system is almost represented here in the form of the flow chart. So this gives us the complete architecture of the system. It's almost split in the form of the two phases, I can say. One is, we call it as a schooling section. Another one is the checking out section. So basically in the training period, we usually train the data. Yes, so the gestures will be captured by the camera using an implicit, which will be already there into our built system. Then the captured images will be further identified by using some of the image processing techniques, such as it could be either enhancing the images or segmentation or the process of color filtering what we apply. Then depending the segmentation depending upon the skill or the reduction of some noise techniques. So the images here are further processed to extract the vital features using the count value, depending upon the count value. So they will be reserved we are going to reserve in one of the file folder, and then we are going to compare them with the test images what we have. So in the test period, the user makes gestures in front of the camera. Then the gestures will be captured as image by the camera by using a virtual mouse. And then they are further processed and the features will be extracted. So the test images will be compared with the stored images. If they are recognized, then the output will be in the form of the text. Otherwise, usually an error message will be generated. So these are the details of my implementation. So this is how we captured a raw image. Then further, it is just converted in the form of the image post, which is related to the Gaussian blur. So here, usually we are having the two layers. The layer one tries to classify between the 27 symbols. So we are going to apply this Gauss blur filter to some, we are going to set some threshold value to the image, which is almost captured by the OpenCV to obtain the processed image after the feature extraction. Then further it is applied to some model, that is convolution neural networks model for the prediction. And if the later is detected for more than 50 frames, then it's printed and taken into consideration for forming a word. So usually space between the words is considered using the blank symbol. Then the layer 2 recognizes the different fonts or displays the similar results during the recognition. So it also tries to classify the collections using the classifiers. So this is the training set what we have, and these are the images, and this is about our results. So this figure almost shows the demonstration of the results, which is showcasing the various letters. So the prediction window has almost 2 frames. One is the actual frame what we have, that is 300 cross 300 in dimension to capture the user input, and another frame which is of 64 into 64, which is a Gaussian filter window. So the inputs of the user are captured and they have been converted into the grayscale images by using the Gaussian filter. And these images are further used for the prediction. So as shown in almost the pictures or the results, what we could see, the user hand gestures, the background colors, and other related parameters are changing almost. With respect to the images, and the prediction model is able to recognize any changes at the user end, and they will be able to provide us some proper prediction results. So these are some of the results. Continue. So finally, I would like to conclude that the implementation using the basic methods is almost more effective than the complex methods. The time constraints and the difficulties involved in creating the records from scratch is almost present. Until then, it is best to have a data set that can be used. So in the live demonstration, of our project, some letters are more difficult to classify, such as A and I, because they have a small difference, as capital I puts up some little finger and all. So the classification effect is very good. So with pictures, there are some possibilities for the future work, what we can represent. So possible extensions of the project can be included as extending the gesture recognition system to almost the American Sign Language letters and other non-letter gestures. So here the scope of the project can also be extended to the various applications, such as the use of the gestures to control our robot navigation. So this is one of the extended application for my project or the paper what we have designed till now. So these are some of the references what we have referred. And yes, this is the final slide of me. Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what is the accuracy?
Ma'am, actually, yeah. Even we have, performance parameters also we had counted it. The accuracy, I don't remember it exactly, but still we are working on it. The parameters, the performance parameters, such as it can be related to accuracy, as you
You
asked.
are not clearly audible. Your voice
Hello.
is low.
Yeah, am I clear, ma'am? Am I clear now? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, am I clear, ma'am?
Yeah, but
Hello.
voice is low.
Am I
Still-
audible?
Still voice is low.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Now it is clear.
Hello.
Yeah, you are audible.
Hello. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes. Yeah, you are audible.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Nikita, you are audible. Yes,
Hello.
Nikita. Yes, Nikita, you are audible.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Oh,
Am I clear, ma'am?
yes, you are.
Hello.
Yes, Nikita, you are audible.
Hello.
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 Yes, you are audible. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Hello.
I think. Mhm.
Yeah. Am I clear, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. So the question you asked was related to the accuracy. So it was like almost, I think so, 70% accurate what we have got, but still we are trying to work on it. What are the performance parameters I can work out for this system and compare it with the existing technologies what we have over here? I hope I answered your question, ma'am.
Yeah. And one more question is there. Will the distance matter?
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I think she is not able to hear too.
Okay.
Mm.
So can we move ahead then, Riddhi?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Hello.
Thank you, Nikita.
Hello. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible now. Okay. We are moving forward to
Hello.
Pawan. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. My voice is audible now.
Yes, you are audible now.
Okay. So can I share my screen?
Yes. Please share and do.
Yeah. Able to see my screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah. So, very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and all the committee members of ICTE. I am Pawan Korodia from CDEC Pune. Again, fortunate to be a part of this event to present our research paper on intelligent virtual research environment for natural language processing. Okay. So our presentation outline would be objective, research development and integration environment for NLP technical methodology, then comes to the system architecture, then framework details. We'll start with our objective. So in the 21st century, the natural language processing has obtained much prominence for the human-machine interactions. So in natural language processing has grown significantly. A lot of tool has been developed in nowadays. But again, the people and the researchers are facing the problem to have a common single platform where they can perform all the development and research activity. So to overcome these things, we come up with our own virtual environment where the researchers can create, modify, evaluate, and analyze various NLP solutions and the technology they can explore it. Then it is a single platform which promote the research in NLP and sharing the knowledge and the resources among NLP researchers. Okay. Then this framework also have the facility to bundle, manage, and integrate a set of NLP tool modules, component applications, and the algorithms and the corresponding associated rules and the data structures, which could build a complete NLP solution. See, again, there is another motivation to develop this framework is to reuse of the existing softwares and to encourage NLP researcher groups to explore, analyze, modify, and enhance the NLP tool applications that is all available in the research community. It come up with a set of protocols like we have the interchange protocol between the component of the built NLP systems, and which have the facility of loose coupling among the approaches. Then we have an integration protocol to incorporate modules in the NLP software, which is written in different languages. So it is completely independent of the language bindings. Then we have comprehensive graphical interfaces, which are providing the facility for managing NLP resources to bundle up the complete solution. Now moving towards the research development and integration environment for NLP. So we have configuration management to define protocols. So everything is all managed through the configurations. So we are maintaining, we basically use the XML based configuration management system for that to define all the protocols. Then we have a development kit to provide access to various applications and a collection of reusable components in the form of objects. So basically here we are using the object-oriented modeling approaches here. Then we have a graphical user interface to provide an integrated environment for all the available NLP-based solutions for designing, development, and for the execution purpose. It is a very easy to use virtual environment, and it gives us a plug-and play design. We'll show you the screenshot of it. So this is how our IDE package looks like. So this is a complete solution. In the left panel, there is a navigation modules, and you can also set the property of it. The next one will be the component integration module. Here you can integrate all the components. The example is like we have a WSD, word sense disambiguator. Then we have a pause taggers T3 and T4, and you can easily plug in T3 with the P4. And apart from that, we also have a set of engines like synthesizers, generators, and NERs. So you can all integrate the subcomponents of the NLPs and try to create your own system. This is a typical system architecture of our solution. So we have an IDE. In the IDE, we have an NLP toolkit, which have this configuration.xml where you can define your all the subcomponents and all. We have a GUI tools. Using that tool, you can define your systems, submodules and all. We are also having the facility to maintain the versions. We also have the facility where you, when a setup fails, you can get it. And you can set your own workspace. You can set your own runtime environment. Apart from that, in the right hand panel, we also have NLP tools, plugins, library files. So it could be external tools you can plug in and you can reuse it. This is a screenshot of the editor, which it is a glimpse of how you are defining the modules. So in the left-hand panel, you can see there is a sentence info. In the sentence info, we are actually invoking the tokenizer, and inside the tokenizer, we have a name entity recognizers. So you can define the hierarchy of it. This is the framework. So in the framework, it is all divided into 4 parts. In the first part, we are actually defining your applications. Then if your application is like a parser, so if they need a basic services like semantic, synthetic, and morphological things, if they need, they can directly invoke it. Then the set of resources is also available, which can be used by the basic services. And we also have the toolkit, which can be used by the applications. This is the communication protocol among the services. So we have a database, NLP tools, file sharing systems, configuration management. So they can all communicate through the this protocol. So we have defined a protocol for that. And this was my last slide. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present our work. Thank you so much. Hello.
Hello, Pawan.
Hi, yes, ma'am.
Nice presentation.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
For this NLP, actually, how many iterations you have tried?
Ma'am, actually, we the initial problem the researchers faced was we'll give you the example of like Stanford and Brill. Pause taggers. So see, they are a totally different pause tagger, and they also come up with a different outcomes. But the researcher need to integrate all this thing in a separate environment. So what we are doing, we are just giving the platform where they can easily plug in these things. They can evaluate their work, and they can also create their own work using this tool. So actually, this is the way actually we are going it, and we are trying to help the community, research community.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you, Pawan, for presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
So next presenter is Pranali Nitnavare, and her paper title is on IoT-based smart city management using IS. Hello, Pranali. Pranali, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, start your presentation, please. You are not audible, Pranali.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yes.
Now audible?
Yes.
Okay. So my topic name is IoT based smart city management using integrated allied services. And my college name is JD College of Engineering and Management, Nagpur. So these are the contents of my project: introduction, literature review, algorithms, methodology, comparison analysis, conclusion, status of project, and paper publication. So first of all, uh, what is smart city? Uh, the first question, the first question is what is meant by a smart city? So the answer is there is no universally accepted definition of a smart city. It means that the things to different people. The conceptuation of a smart city therefore varies from smart city to city and country to country, and depending on the level of the development, willingness to change and reform resources, and the aspiration of the resident. uh, and then in the approach of the amount smart cities mission, the objective is to promote the cities that provide core infrastructure and give a decent quality of life to our citizens, right? So in my project, uh, I integrate the three systems: the smart accident detector, and the smart water management, and third one is health monitoring system. So in a smart accident detector, uh, we know very well we faced a lots of accident, and they lost their life. So in our project, we detects the vibrations using the piezoelectric sensor and detects the accidents, and also send the information to the server. And in this, for sending alert messages, so we used Arduino Mega controller, and this Arduino Mega controller sends the alert messages through the GSM and GPS system. And the next one is smart water management. The water is, we know very well, the water is quite essential uh, for our life, but it is fact that that much of the precious water is wasted due to the lack of very well monitoring system. So for this loss of water, uh, we create the smart water management. We can solve this water wastage problem. So this system can be implemented using the LM3 sensors, uh, which would render to accurate the water level. And the third one is health monitoring system. uh, we propose the project can collect the can collect and send patients' health monitoring data to an IoT server where the real-time health status of the patients can be recorded and monitoring in a remote location. And then our system is designed to be used in hospitals and homes also for measuring and monitoring the various parameters like temperature and all things. This system can be implemented using the L35 sensor, which would render and accurate the temperature. As we know about the smart city concepts integrated the information and communication technology, that means the ICT, and various physical devices connects to the IoT. The main goal of the smart city is to improve the quality of life for the citizens by using the smart technologies. This is my literature review. Then proposed algorithm. In this, first I do create the data sets and then applying the algorithm NLP, and applying the text filter, data generation module, and then data structure module. The next one is a methodology. The sensors node will be developed using the above mentioned hardware and software communication standards. The first one is LM3 sensors for water management, and the third one is piezoelectric sensor for accident tracker, and third one is L35 sensor for the health monitoring system. Since in this these sensors sense the event with the help of the sensors, and the location track with the help of the GPS module. And then the next this method, uh, these all this sensing data transmit this data with help of the XB to the gateway. uh, and the next one is comparison analysis. So far, as we know that the so far individual devices can be produced in the IoT, we know very well, and the for creation of the individual devices, and it is more expensive to buy, and also for storage devices, and also for a software application, it will get more spaces. And in our as compared to our old devices, in my project, all devices gets integrated. uh, the name as smart water management system, smart accident tracker, and health monitoring system. And they are cheap, they are very cheap, and when we integrate it and can be done within a single storage device or in our one application. And the next one is a conclusion for health monitoring. The first one is health monitoring. uh, the conclusion is that to minimize the deaths and the server conditions due to the accidents, the GPS and GSM technologies are used, where immediate action would be take place by the ambulance, hospitals, and police, might reduce the servitude. The next one is for water management. The server continuously monitor the accidents. Sorry, the continuously monitor the water level to actually there is a yes, the water level in the tank and prevents the overflow for analyze the water uses. It reduces the manual work, and also it works smartly. Nowadays, liquid level monitoring is vital in many industries too, like oil, automotive, etc. Using our smart technology, we analyze the use and also detects the leakage. And for accident management, to server continuously monitor the accident to save the people in a right time. Cost is less in this system. The message will be sent to the respective person to the rescue team. And the next one is it shows the position in which the accident has been occurred. This is my status of the project. This is a registration module. This is login module, and this is my project. And this is our my output of the project. And the next one is paper publication.
Hello, Pranali.
Thank you, ma'am. My presentation is over.
Yeah. Am I audible, Pranali?
Hello.
Hello, am I audible?
Actually, no, ma'am. Just wait 2 minutes.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the
Hello.
how did you create the data set?
First of all, I gathered the all data like hospital names, like zone names, police station names, and their numbers.
So did you test your data or directly you have used the data?
Sorry.
Did you test your data on some testing platform, or did you
Actually for this testing, we need the SMS integration. So and for my project only I use the means for 2 days only SMS integration.
no, I mean to say that your data set is authenticated or not?
Actually, I'm not audible, ma'am.
Hello,
Hello.
am I audible?
Yes.
Is the data set authenticated?
Uh, yes, ma'am.
By whom?
Hello.
By whom?
Hello.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible, but I think she has a problem, so.
Okay. Pranali,
Hello.
are you there? Riddhi, then what to do? Shall we continue or?
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Pranali.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Did you authenticate your data set which is created by you?
Ma'am, actually, no, ma'am. For
Huh.
only for my project, I use the data.
Okay. And is there any specific reasons behind using only LM3 or L35? Have you studied different types of sensors and then you select these sensors?
Actually, these sensors are very cheap. That's why I use these sensors. And
Then what about the accuracy then? You have just
near
considered only
about,
cost criteria,
sorry,
or you have
it
just
is
considered only
it
price?
is very easy to use and
Yeah, agreed.
very
Easy to
easy to connections and also.
just wait, wait. Hello. Yes.
Hello.
You can continue.
Yes.
So you have just considered the cost criteria.
Uh, yes, because nowadays people all people wants to cheap and very easy to use.
Yeah, but if you are if other sensors are giving more accurate result than these sensors, and which cost you can say little bit higher
Actually,
than these.
as my knowledge, as per my inquiries, so I got this better sensors. and
Okay,
they
and
gives
is
a
there
accurate.
is there any backup plan for the accident detector? For that you have used what piezoelectric sensor, na?
Piezoelectric sensor.
Yeah.
Huh.
So if that sensor somewhere damaged or it is not working, so do you have any backup for it?
Uh, Actually, I don't have a backup against this sensor, but
Yeah. Thank you, Pranali.
hello,
Yeah, thank you,
hello.
Pranali.
Yes, Pranali,
I'm not
thank you.
audible, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
Pranali, thank you for presentation.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Okay, we are moving forward to our next presenter, Ashish Kumar, and his paper title on influence of student-teacher interrelationship on academic achievement, a logic model. Hello, Ashish Kumar.
Good morning, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes,
Please start your presentation, sir.
yes, just 1 second. I will share my screen.
Mm.
Is my screen visible?
Please unmute yourself, sir.
Now my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Okay. A very good afternoon to all. Myself, Dr. Ashish Kumar, Assistant Professor in Mathematics Department at Manipal University, Jaipur. Today I am presenting on the topic influence of student-teacher interrelationship and the effect on their academic achievements with respect to demographic variables. And introduction, these are the contents of the presentation: introduction, material and method, introduction about logistic regression, then data analysis, conclusion and references. As we know that from ancient era, humans of the human civilization, a teacher's role always remained changed, fluctuated from time to time in among all the nations. And in the beginning, a teacher means a person who just do formal teaching tasks, including formulation of curriculum, teaching, preparing lectures, giving lessons and assessing the performance of students. And it is always expected from a teacher that he unwrap the thinker, touch the hearts and hold the hand of students. To achieve these objectives, the teacher must play many roles like historian, sleuth, visionary, symbol, potter, poet, actor, and healer. And teaching is more about humanity inside the teacher rather than the technology outside the technology. It considered as a matter of heart instead of a matter of head. It is about the characteristic of teachers like in identity, integrity, intensity, and individuality, and commitments and connection with the student. But in current area of science and technology, teachers becomes a facilitator, role model, assessor, planner, resource developer, and information provider more than a traditional teacher. So in this direction, in current competitive and globalized scenario, students and managements also expect much more from a teacher. In this situation, student-teacher interrelationship play a crucial role in creating the learning environment for the students. And lot of studies has been carried out and some techniques have been suggested to improve student-teacher relationship, like we teacher should remember the name of the students as much as possible. He must identify personal things of each student. He discuss some current issues and provide positive, caring and enthusiastic environment, and avoid words like threat and punishment, and remain unbiased in the class, and create a sportive atmosphere in the class so that students feel friendly with a teacher, and he always try to motivate and encourage the students even though they give some wrong answer to the questions, but never humiliate and demoralize the students. It is expected in these days from a teacher, and the positive student teacher relationship can have a long lasting impact on academic growth of students. Teacher will with strong relationship with students are more effective in teaching, and the students also achieve higher academic success. So lot of studies in this direction have been conducted with the objectives of improve academic success, prevent behavior problems, improve students' attitude towards classwork, and adding growth in and outside the classroom. Murray, Brophy, Austin, Evans, Claim, these are the persons who develop and who work in this direction. Levi's, Lowe's, Mehedipur, and Bala Ramulu, these persons carried out various studies on this direction. So this is the literature review about about the student-teacher relationship, and this whole manuscript is divided into 4 sections. First section is introductory in nature with a detailed literature review, and in the second section material and methods are discussed, those are used for the analysis, and third section dedicated to the data analysis, results of the data analysis, and the last section is conclusion. So in this study, it is a cross-sectional study, and students of various universities are included as a respondent in this study when sample is collected, and total all the 5 faculties or stream students are included in the data collection randomly. Main students included from management, science, arts, law, journalism, and engineering. Respondents comprised mostly undergraduate students, and all the respondents know that what they are filling in the questionnaire, and they voluntarily fill up the survey. Stratified random sampling technique is used to collect the data, and respondents were asked to indicate their response on a 5-point Likert scale. 1 stands for the strongly agree and 5 stands for the strongly disagree. This study is done by a BSc student. And data collection, we take the consent from Mehedipur and Balarumulu to use their questionnaire, and we make some editing in that questionnaire and collect the data from the respondents. We select this questionnaire because it is most relevant to our study and our objective of the study. And the questionnaire comprised 2 sections. In first section, there are 6 questions related to the demographic information, and another part have 30 questions related to the student-teacher relationship, and total 292 respondents filled the questionnaire and returned back to us. Statistical analysis, we use statistical SPSS software 21 to perform the analysis, and the categorical data were summarized as in form of frequency tables and percentage tables, and we use Bartlett test to authenticate or to check the internal consistency or sampling adequacy of the questionnaire, or to check the reliability. So the Cronbach alpha is also used, and we find that the value is 0.871, that is sufficiently large in comparison to 0.6, and the questionnaire reliability is obviously suitable for performing this analysis. And this is the reliability of the questionnaire. And then we apply logistic regression, because logistic regression is generally used when we have the dependent variable in categorical nature, and all the independent variables are on either Likert scale or in the quantitative in nature. And this is the fitting of the model is measured by using the likelihood function, coefficient Snell R square, and Naka-Lekerike R square values. With the help of these, we test the goodness fit of the model. So we apply this test and we observe that our p value for the model is less than less than level of significance, and in this case we reject the null hypothesis. And we reject the null hypothesis for all the cases. And we also find that Cox and Snell value R square value is 0.281 and Naga-Lacrique R square value is also 0.404. So in this case, we develop several results, all are not included here, and we find that the assessment of student-teacher relationship on academic assessment, the student-teacher relationship influence the academic achievements of the students, and it is here two regression models are developed, one with respect to the gender and second with respect to the locality of the students from which they belong, and we identify the main influential questions or factors those influence all these relationships, like your faculty have a command on the subject, your faculty provide you with relevant information explanation to the point of the subject matter, and the factor and the loadings or the coefficient regression coefficients value are also observed here, as well as in the development of the regression model, the coefficient as well as regression coefficient as well as the intercept is also tested with the help of these testing criteria, and then we find that these questions significantly contribute in the development of the model. So as a whole, 7 important questions or factors we can say that influence the student teacher relationship, and their impact also hold on academic achievement.
Hello,
Also,
sir.
yes.
Yes, sorry for the interruption. Please start. You have only 1 minute.
Okay, I am just concluding.
Yes.
And R square value is also sufficiently large. So from this study, we conclude that student-teacher relationship also resulted in the contributing in the academic achievements of the students. And these are the references that we have used. So thank you.
Hello, ma'am. I don't have any questions regarding this topic. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I don't have any question.
Ma'am, you are not clearly audible.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, now audible.
Yeah, I don't have any question. Can we move ahead?
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, sir, for your
thank you
present.
to the organizers for providing me this opportunity.
Yes, thank you. So we are moving forward to our next presenter, Mahu Chatterjee, and her paper title on threat and challenges of artificial intelligence in the healthcare industry.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, I'm sharing the screen.
Yes.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mahu Chatterjee, a research scholar from KT University. My topic of discussion is threats and challenges of artificial intelligence in healthcare industry. So these are the contents, like started from introduction, role of artificial intelligence, threats and challenges faced by AI, scope and future implications of AI, and conclusions followed by the reference. So starting with the introduction part, as digitization breaking every interruption, including the healthcare systems, the capability to capture, to partake, or to deliver the data is getting a high priority these days. In early 1970s, AI introduced its way into the healthcare systems, and it began to be applied to biomedical problem and to solve, get a solution of it as well. In 1980, the American Association for Artificial Intelligence was established in a group of medical applications for various things. Like nowadays, there are several new uses of AI in healthcare. For example, fuzzy expert systems, Bayesian networks, like crossbreed intelligent systems, artificial neural networks, and all. So the increasing population is expected to be able with the increase the demand of health services as the demand of it is going on. And the future of AI is healthcare is not fully optimistic because there are some advantages, and along with that, some disadvantages are always associated to this. And this study is mainly aimed to find out the opportunity of AI and the risk of it in healthcare services, because some of its independent learning system detects association and suggests few diagnoses. For example, we can take the example of Google's DeepMind health technology, which integrates the machine learning with a neuroscience system to model the human brain. Basically, it uses the AI and it provides the diagnostic and decision-making support to healthcare professionals, including the radiology department as well. So coming to the role of artificial intelligence, basically with means deep learning programs and the technology advancement of it, AI is well equipped with all of the algorithms, that is including the quick image reading. For example, we can include the MRIs and CT scan with that. Along with that, as well as the doctors are focusing on the preventive care depending on the data collection or gathering. Means this is starting from the inbound information, collecting the starting information, and concluding with the wearable devices. For example, we can take the example of Fitbit or Apple, because it watches the heart rate and physical activities. Now they can also cause or shoot cautions to the keys regarding when we are doing the exercises and medications doses as well. So it obtains information regarding mutation, genetics, and DNA as well. And it is very easier to inspect all the things, and very easy to detect the cancer and vascular disorders in advance as well. Coming with the VR, the virtual health assistant, it's a very different kind of approach, which reduces the frequent clinic visits for both of the doctors and the patients as well, because it is capable of reducing it from the burden of the medical professionals, and it creates basically it serves as a breeze between the service providers or doctors with the patients. For example, we can take. So along with that, also one thing that is natural language processing, that NPL, and sentiment analysis. Like this, both interactive chatbots have been assembled so that how they are allowing the patients to ask questions regarding the bill payment, whatever the pharmaceutical need or things they want to avail. As well as we can health informatics in terms, we are getting health informatics as well as the robot assisted surgery process, because in this process, the data they can collect from a real surgical process to the existing surgical approach, how they are applying it. And cyber security is another important big thing in case of AI, because we need to take the data related information and we have to keep it very confidential and in a safe manner. So the way AI is developed during 1970 till now is means really a matter of the examination or the process of the entire thing is going on, the record starting from the record keeping to the health record associating everything. Now coming to the threat of artificial intelligence in healthcare industry. So basically the data availability means with these tools, the whatever data we are getting through collecting the training or means these tools, the human touch of interacting with a doctor can be lost, because we require massive measures of data during any kind of training or any kind of testing modules for AI. And we are collecting data in a healthcare system for from multiple sources, and which, for example, we can take the example of electronic health record as well as insurance claim record. So since the data is huge or bursted and the case is different providers or switch insurance companies, so it is very complicated, and the complexity of it is getting very large, which is a result of which the means hazard of error and the data collection cost escalates. So next comes the privacy concerns. As the data collection, the collection of huge data sets and the exchange of data between the healthcare system and AI developers to enable the all-over system that is leading to different or various cases that to believe that this could violate the isolation or the information can be lost. As with these, the bias and inequality is also associated to this. Because, for example, if the data incorporated in AI is generally collected in academic and medical centers, the developing of AI systems will have very little or minor knowledge regarding the same, and as a result of this, it will get less effective, or it will the treatment will be in a less effective manner, because some bias or inequality will be involved in that. So this could also lead to the shift in profession. For example, we can take the example of radiology, where the most of the work gets automated nowadays. And in the long run, the employment of AI systems could lead to the shifts in medical profession because of that. In the radiology department, the work are getting automated, and it has already started. So it's a very serious concern. Coming to the part scope and future. Basically, we can start with the virtual reality of it. There are several parts, like we can take for virtual reality. So in virtual reality, for example, if we take the example of virtual reality, reality, it's like surgeons are wearing special VR headsets that can stream operations and provide the medical students with the particular view of that particular surgical process. And it can also help to in terms of physical therapy and to speed up of it. And associated to this, we can also compare the virtual reality with the augmented reality as well, because it is similar like VR, and the applications in healthcare can give the better result to the medical students. For example, augmented reality enables medical students to get detailed, accurate depictions of human anatomy without studying the real human bodies. Now coming to the genome sequencing. So basically, genome sequencing, it is possible through the machine learning application.
Hello, madam. Sorry for the interruption. You have 1 minute left.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I will complete. Yeah. So coming to the genome sequencing, it made possible through the machine learning applications that can impact the cancer diagnosis and treatment. Coming to the next, that is wearable tech. Whatever we have discussed already, like using the wearable tech that can that includes the heart rhythm, blood pressure, temperature, and other things. Another one is nanotechnology. For example, the future of the medicine, including the drug delivery method, it includes the enable site-specific targeting to avoid the accumulation of it, and to that drug compounds in healthy cells or the tissues. So like this 3D printing process that allows the efficient manufacture of drug formulations, and it also improves the healthcare quality, reduces costs, as well as minimization of the production risk. So now coming to the conclusion of it, it created massive challenges, because artificial intelligence is an advanced technology which have application in different fields, including medicinal services. So AI people, which is a group comprised of a group, is well on its approach of meeting these difficulties by growing new example recognition methods. adaptable the calculations and the novel methodologies, and utilization of a huge amount of well-being information to answer general queries. Here are the references. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, am I audible?
Hello. Hello.
Am I audible?
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, madam, you are audible. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, madam, you are audible.
Yes. Excuse me.
Yes.
Hello.
1 second. Yes, Geeta ma'am, you are audible. Hello.
Can I ask question?
Yes, ma'am. Please ask the question.
Yeah. You actually talked about threats and challenges of artificial intelligence, na?
Yes, madam.
Yes. Type of diseases or
Hello. 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 Hello.
Hello, Geeta ma'am. Are you here? Can you hear me? Mhm. Okay, Chatterjee, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, madam.
I think Geeta ma'am has some problem.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I'm not. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, then we moving forward to our next presenter, Urja Makkar, and
Yes.
her paper title is on smart water metering.
Water metering implementation. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Please
Okay.
start.
Yes, I'm sharing my document. Yes. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yes. So let it be. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Urja Makkar, and I'm presenting a framework for smart water metering implementation. So the main agenda of this presentation, as we know that IoT is very emerging technology now, and we are now moving from wireless communication in the wireless communication, network communication to IoT. Many more smart applications developments are going on using IoT. So when we are working on IoT, we have a challenges like scalability, heterogeneity, and power efficiency. So smart metering applications have the implementation challenges like development cost is now too high and security of data is very less. There are many research is going on in the field of smart water management, but still we are not finding any systematic framework to guide us for developing a proper smart metering system. Let us understand what is metering system. There are two types of metering system. One is the manual metering and another is the smart metering. In the manual metering system, the problem is a manual, a person has to visit a water meter and has to record the usage, and where there are chances of data loss or there are chances of manipulation of data. So there can be a smart metering system where smart meters are there at the residence area, and they will sense the water flow and will send all the data to the cloud platform, and from where we can use and manipulate that data, calculate the data, and we can generate the billing for the water usage. Nowadays in India, the water scarcity is a big issue. Water leakage is there, water purity is not maintained, and many more issues are there. So if we have a smart water metering system where there is a network of meters. They are connected with computers and mobile phones, and we can have the daily usage of our water. We can connect to the meter, we can control our meter, and the usage data can be recorded at a cloud server with a secure system, and we can analyze further for the data, and we can generate the billing system so that we can control our water usage up to some extent. So to implement this type of metering system, we require a framework which will provide a device connectivity and will reduce the cost and complexity of the development, and will allow us to customize our implementation. So here in this research, we have implemented a framework called a smart water metering framework, which will help the society for saving the water, will decrease the manual work, and human intervention will be very minimized or nil. And we have designed an IoT based smart metering framework, which uh, is a proposed framework, and have developed the GUI platform also, which will note down the water flow, and the billing system is generated. So in our designed framework, there is a device management, communication and data management, and application development modules are there. And our framework is the layered, have the layered architecture, and it has suggested the meter device, which type of devices can be used, what are the connection and communication methods can be used, and how to store and retrieve the huge amount of data, and further the mobile based application to read the water usage, and to generate a bill and share the billing system. So this is the architecture of our framework. Here it is a layered architecture. The first, the layer is the physical layer. We can see here the bottommost layer is the database layer, and the first is the physical layer, or you can say the device layer, where the smart meters are connected with the flow sensors, and smart meters are working on the battery powered devices with wireless trans receivers, and communication is done between the smart meters and gateways using the LoRaWAN protocol. The LoRaWAN protocol is used here for communication. Gateways are designed which will communicate again on the LoRa technology, and gateways will collect the water flow information from the meters in near real time. Data will be stored temporarily in the local storage at the gateway. Excuse me, and data aggregated and sent to the platform for further processing. So this layer works as an edge computing layer, and communication with the IoT platform to the gateway is done through the HTTPS protocol. An IoT platform consists of 4 layers. That first is the web API layer, which will provide the web interface to the internal logic. Platform logic layer, which contains the logic for receiving the data, aggregating the data, and store the water usage data and consumption data. And functional layer will provide the provision for all end user functionalities, and data storage layer will store the information of customers along with their meter assignment details and water usage data. User application layer can access the platform's functionality using this layer, and different types of applications can run at this layer, where using the application, here we have developed a mobile based application, and we can develop any type of web applications or mobile applications which will able to see the water consumption on the daily basis, monthly basis, and yearly basis. We can have the analysis chart for the usage, and we can pay the water usage bill amount to the water suppliers, and the meter and customer administration tasks can also be done using these applications. There are different modules for the framework, that is the water meter with flow sensors, gateways, communication protocol, database, and IoT-based applications. So these are the modules for this implementation of this framework. This is the component diagram. Here we can see that the smart water meters are connected with the LoRa communication technology with the gateway. Gateway will communicate with the water meters, will collect the data, aggregate it, and will pass the data through to the IoT based cloud-based IoT platform using the HTTPS protocol with the SSL and TLS communication protocol. Water meter will have the LoRa as a communication protocol. It will be having the sensors, LoRa modules, microcontrollers, and battery as a component inside. And gateway will be also having the LoRa module, microcontroller, and connection modules. It will also be having the Wi-Fi and 3G, 4G connectivity protocol, which will be used to communicate in the internet. This is the implementation diagram. Where we can see that the communication is carried out through the COM port, the serial port. Water meter microprocessor will communicate with using the LoRa communication protocol. Here we have for that the LoRa module, and the real-time clock module is there, which will transfer the data on the near real time. It works on the battery power. This is the data transfer packet format. Here, each and every meter will get a unique ID of 28 byte, followed by the data, that is the water meter usage data, and along with the date. So every day, uh, in a day, 4 times data will be sent, and it is collected at the gateway, and once in a day will be stored in the daily usage is stored in the cloud database. So the packet will not increase the load in the network with bandwidth of 1.9 kbps and frequency is 433 megahertz as used. Whole packet will be transmitted at once. No need to manage the fragmentation. So very less network load. So right now we have implemented this framework using the 3 meters and 1 gateway. And now in future, we have tested this prototype model with 3 meters and 1 gateway, and in future this framework will be tested for meter management, leakage management, and water line fault detection, and many more. This prototype can be simulated to test the network load and feasibility to implement the smart water network in the cities. So smart water metering framework has been designed and prototype implementation is done, which will help the water consumers to smoothen out the process of consumption tracking and billing system. And mobile-based app is developed to easily access the data and information from both the ends. And we have here used the open source technology. So the prototype implementation cost is not too high, and the data are stored and retrieved using a secure cloud platform. So it is very cost-effective module right now, and we are working on this model for further network, you can say the network load and feasibility implementation. We can implement this type of model in our cities for minimizing the water usage, and we can have the billing system to regulate our water usage. Thank you. Hello. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Urja.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah. Geeta, ma'am.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Urja.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, to store the data, which cloud you have referred?
Yes, ma'am. We store the data on cloud platform, and
Which cloud you have used? Is it private or public?
no, it is a public cloud.
And which one?
Yes.
Which one? Is it Amazon, Salesforce? Which one?
Uh, एक minute, it is not audible. एक minute. What you are? Hello. Hello.
Yeah, which cloud you have used?
Yes, it is a Firebase database connected with the mobile application. It is a Firebase database. Hello.
Okay, thank you,
Yes,
Urja.
yes. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry for the disturbance. Something wrong is going on here. Sorry, ma'am. Thank you.
It's okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Urja, for your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am, for your cooperation.
No problem, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, now we are moving to for, so all presentation has been done. So I would like to, so I would request to our session chair, Geeta ma'am, for a session remark. Please give the session remark, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Participants are there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, few participants are there.
Yes. Okay, all the presentations were very nice. And if you want to ask me about this session, I think the paper which has been presented by Pawan, Intellectual Virtual Research Environment for NLP,
Yes,
that was
yes.
we can say a nice presentation as well as very well concluded. And I suggest rest of the participants to have a flow in their presentation regarding, like it should be arranged from the introduction, then they should have a literature survey, and whatever research methodology they have used, that should be presented, and obviously at the end experimental work and conclusion. So this is what I would like to suggest, and I wish all the best for the participants for forthcoming conferences or any journal publications. Thank you, and thank you for giving me opportunity to work as a session chair for this international conference.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
For inviting me for this conference. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. And also I would like to thank our all authors for the great presentation and for their great contribution to this session. And also I would like to thank our participants for being a part of this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough to all. All the presenter would be getting their email, getting their digital certificates through email within 2 working days, and all the papers are already forwarded to the Springer publication, and publication will be live within 5 to 6 months. On behalf of Global Knowledge Research Foundation and the team of ICTCS 2021 and SmartCom 2021, I would like to thank our session chair, Professor Geeta Navle. Ma'am, here is your token of your appreciation.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. And thank you for your valuable presence, ma'am, to this session.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, and at the end of the session, I would request to all our participants, please turn on your camera to keep a good memory of this virtual conference.
Ma'am, I had a question. So the next sessions will start after 1 hour, right?
Sorry, sir?
The next session will start after 1 hour, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, done. Perfect. So thank you so much to all. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.